If I were to ask you what your favorite feature of a horror film was, would it be the jump scares because you secretly enjoy shaving years off of your life? Maybe it's the slow, unbearable tension building while something's lurking just out of sight. Or maybe it's just the creative kills and the practical effects used within the film. Or maybe you just enjoy watching people make the dumbest decisions imaginable. Whatever your answer is, Evil Dead Burn is giving you plenty to choose from. Today I'm going to be talking about Evil Dead Burn, which I've just come back from seeing yesterday. I've had a night to kind of think about it and put all my thoughts into this one big video. I will be going into spoilers later on, but it's going to be nothing major, nothing like my obsession video. I'm literally just going to be going over minor things. So again, I'm going to break this video up into a couple parts. I'm going to quickly go over the plot, and then I'm going to go into what I like about the film, which could contain some spoilers, but if there are spoilers, they're going to be so incredibly minor, and I will give you a spoiler warning beforehand anyway. So this film explores the origins of the Book of the Dead, which, if you don't know, is used in all of the Evil Dead films. It explores how George and Will's grandpa, who is actually Professor Noby. Professor Noby, for those who don't know, is the voice on the old recordings in the prior two Evil Dead films. He was actually part of a group known as the Circle of Wise Men, whose entire aim was to study on the Necronomicon and the Deadites, and actually find a way of how to kill the Deadites once and for all. The group were in possession of a handful of artifacts that were actually able to kill the Deadites, and this is why the Deadites have targeted this particular family, so they can destroy the artifacts once and for all and live forever. There's a lot more to the plot than that, but I want to keep it pretty vague just in case you do want to go see the film, as it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and I even went to see it on my own. And I'll give you a little bit of a warning now. I didn't find it that scary personally. I think the first 5 minutes are some of the best in the film. There's a lot of gore thrown at you immediately that made me look away at some parts. A lot of your typical Evil Dead stuff, a lot of flesh peeling, a lot of body part dismemberment, just your very typical Evil Dead stuff. So it's all still here. It's just really grotesque and repulsive. It's hard to watch at some points, but I will say this now, and I did say this in another post I made about this film already. I don't think the grotesqueness is as severe as it has been with Sam Raimi's Evil Dead and Evil Dead Rise. I just don't think it's as bad as those films were. But again, I could just be numb to it now, where things like that don't really freak me out, which is a little bit of a narcissistic thing to say. But overall, I still think the gore in the film was extremely believable. Like, everything that was showing, like a lot of flesh peeling, a lot of injuries that were going on, it looked real. So props to the makeup artist for whoever was doing this. It's insane. Like every horror movie, there's a lot of dumb decisions that are made, and I want to go into a minor spoiler if you don't mind. I'll timestamp it when I get out of this spoiler if you want to avoid all spoilers. But there's a moment within the first half an hour where something tragic has happened at the house. Joe and his wife and Joe's dad, Edgar, get into a car to try and get Edgar to a hospital. Long story short, a fight breaks out in the car, and Edgar is this close to killing Joe's wife, and Joe pulls out a gun and points it at Edgar's head, but he bottles it. And I'm not being funny, but if that's my wife, and Edgar has done some lunatic acts throughout the last 10 minutes, if he was this close to killing my wife, then you pull the trigger, because it's the sane decision to make. I know it's his father, and I know it's a difficult decision, but that's the obvious decision to make. Later, this can be forgotten about anyway, because something happens with a weapon and it just doesn't do anything. So it wouldn't have done anything anyway, but I think the principle of shooting him would have still been appreciated. So spoilers over now. I'm done talking about spoilers. Like I said, the gore was great. Now I kind of want to move on to the cinematography side and how the camera work was. This film is shot beautifully. I loved every shot in this film. It felt like it was so well thought out. There's a lot of drone shots. There's a lot of flash cuts as well, where it's just bam, 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 bam between shots. I always appreciate those in these films. I think they used them quite a lot in Evil Dead Rise. And again, I appreciated them there. I appreciate them here. The cinematography in this film does a great job of amplifying the chaotic feeling of this film. The visual direction leans heavily into the claustrophobic compositions, often trapping characters within the frame to heighten the feeling of vulnerability. The camera work seems very deliberate, where it's using a lot of like lingering scenes on like our protagonist just to increase that tenseness. There's a mix of camera shots within this. There's a lot of sweeping motions, there's a lot of like chaos, but there's also a lot of smoothness to it too, where the camera is just slowly going through a corridor or panning slowly around a room. I don't know, the shots were just beautiful in this film. Like, they were really surprising. There's one shot in particular I really liked, where they're in a bathroom and they kind of go along the floor and then up the wall and then onto the ceiling. But the camera does a 90-degree turn everything they go up. So it'll be from the floor, it'll go up the wall, flip 90 degrees, go up the wall as if they're going along the floor, and then it flips 90 degrees again, and then they're going along the ceiling. It's just really creative, and I've never really seen shots like that. There's also another shot where it's like a top-down shot from the roof downwards, as if we're seeing through the roof. Again, it's just super creative, and I haven't really seen it done before. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, there are jump scares in the film, but they're used pretty sporadically through the first and second act, whereas when it gets to the third act, it's kind of thrown away, and they just go relentless with them. Not that any of them got me, but no, I still appreciate a jump scare. Like, I do. I'm a sucker for jump scares. I can't help it. But I would much prefer them use them where it makes sense and not just keep pushing them towards you as if they're just feeding you Skittles over and over and over again. The music in the film is great. Like, genuinely good. It manages to install a fear inside of you that I haven't really felt before. Like, it can literally just be a woman standing there, and the build-up of the score just dramatically improves the feeling of tenseness. And again, I really appreciate that. There's a lot of clashing notes. It's very orchestral, very demonic, and it's very deliberate, and it does install that fear factor. I don't know, I've always loved the music in Evil Dead films just because it's so well thought out, and again, just makes you feel fear. The cast were all excellent in this film. Our main protagonist, Will's wife, I can't remember her name, I'm sorry, I'm just stuck with names, but she was great. She sold a lot of the terror to me. Like, I believed she was scared. There are a couple of moments as well where she does the cliche thing of doing something stupid, but she'll correct herself and be like, no, that's stupid. Why would I do that? Which is so refreshing because it doesn't happen often. Everyone just kind of does the stupid thing, and then the dumb thing happens, and then they're sad when they're killed or they're hurt. I don't know. I just think there are some dumb choices in this film, but there are some good choices as well. I've got to give the MVP award to the grandma though. The grandma really sold me on this film. She is so funny. She can just say the dumbest thing, and it's really sad as well because she clearly suffers with dementia and she forgets who people are, forgets the scenario she's in. She has no idea what's going on, but she'll just come out with the most outlandish line. There is another thing I want to talk about. There's a shot towards the end of the film that's very reminiscent of the poster from Evil Lurks Within. It's so beautifully shot, this end sequence. I loved every minute of it, like genuinely. I think the ending was overall pretty good, and it was kind of surprising as well, but again, it's very samey. I will admit, I walked out of the cinema before I looked at the post-credit scenes. There are two post-credit scenes. There's a mid-credit scene, and then there is a post-credit scene. Stay for both. I'm not going to spoil anything now, but if you've seen Evil Dead Rise, stick around for it because it is worth it. And I am gutted I didn't get to see it in cinema, but I've seen it now, so I don't really need to go see it. I don't know, I had a really good time with this film, and that's why I gave it a 7 out of 10. I've never been able to give a horror film a 10. This isn't a 10. All the Evil Dead films are kind of the same. It's the same kind of plot, same shit happens. I always give it a 7 because it's a good watch. I do enjoy it, but it's not a masterpiece. Would I watch it again? Absolutely. If my mates turn around and said, let's go see it tomorrow, I would. But you've got to remember, these films are all kind of the same. That's not a bad thing. The Evil Dead formula is great. I love it. I'd never want them to change it. If they made another film, it would be great, which they are doing. They're mid-production on Evil Dead Wrath, which I'm super excited for. I don't think it releases till 2028, but still, it's something to look forward to as an Evil Dead fan. So if you haven't seen the film yet and you want to go see it, go see it. It's 100% worth the money. If you want to wait for it on streaming, I'm sure it'll come out on Netflix at some point, but it'll be a long time because it literally came out yesterday. But yeah, overall, I had a fantastic time with the film. It's really good. But if you want more videos like this where I review films, it's not just horror films that I go and watch. I watch all sorts of films. Like I will be reviewing The Odyssey next week. I will also be reviewing Spider-Man a couple weeks after that. There are so many films, and I think the cinema scene is so alive right now that it's worth going back to the cinema if you haven't been to the cinema in a while, especially if you're near an IMAX cinema. Make use of it. I'm not fortunate enough to be close to an IMAX cinema, but if you are, make the most of it. It's so worth it. But anyway, I'm rambling now. I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you so much for watching again. If you want more content like this, please like and subscribe. It goes a long way. I'm still going to make content like this anyway, but like and subscribe, please.